Here is another example from problems 17 and 18. So the very first thing we're going to do is simplify everything. And so that's going to require doing distributive property. And I go inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to go to this -2 and I'm going to distribute that to the 7 and to the -9. So -2 times 7x gives me -14x, and -2 times the -9 gives me positive 18. Well, now I'm going to look inside these parentheses. I'm still using my PEMDAS rules, and I'm going to combine like terms. My like terms are the 2x and the -14x, and they combine to give me -12x. Then I have plus 18. Now I'm going to, again, I can go ahead and distribute. And when I do that, I have 2 times -12 gives me -24x, and 2 times 18 gives me 36. Now if I look at this, I notice this actually was kind of factored already. We have pulled out a 2 and we made this bigger, but now we want to factor out the largest number. So we're looking for the largest number that divides into 24 and that also divides into 36, and that number would be 12. So I can factor out a 12, and when I factor out a 12, I say -24x divided by 12 leaves me with a -2x, and a positive 36 divided by 12 leaves me with a 3. I can check my work by going 12 times -2x. Hey, that gives me -24x. 12 times 3 gives me 36. Okay, here's one more example. So here we have a nice big long one. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit. So here I'm going to start with inside parentheses, which is all the way over here, and I notice I have a negative. So if it helps, you can put a -1 right there, and that will help you to remember to distribute that negative. So that -1 distributed over to the x and then to the 4. So that gives me a -x and a -4. Well, now here inside these parentheses I can combine like terms, because -4x plus a -x gives me a -5x, and I still have that plus -4. Well, now I have this 4w, and I can distribute that here and also distribute that over here. So 4w times a -5x gives me a -20xw, and 4w times a -4 gives me a -16w. Well, now I look in here and I say, hey, is there anything I can combine in here? And yes, there is, because these two things are actually like terms because of our rule that we have that says order doesn't matter. And so our commutative property tells us, hey, xw is the same as wx. So I can combine these two things, and 20xw plus a -20xw gives us a -18xw. And then now I've finished what I can inside that parentheses, and then I look at these and I say, hey, are there any like terms? And 20w plus -16w gives me 4w plus a -18xw. Now we're looking to factor, because we did want to factor, and I say, hey, what is the largest number that divides into both of these numbers? And the largest number is a 2. And then, is there a variable that is common to both of these that I can factor out? And yes, they both have a w, so I can factor out a w. So I factor out a 2 and a w, and when I do that, I go 4w divided by 2w, that leaves me with 2w. I go -18xw divided by 2w, and that leaves me with a -9x.